We often reserve the word trauma for the most visible tragedies: extreme abuse, profound loss, or obvious violence. When these events occur, the impact shatters a child's sense of safety. But a developing brain doesn't always distinguish between a headline-grabbing tragedy and a common life disruption. A sudden divorce, a scary emergency room visit, or a week of cyberbullying can trigger the exact same neurological alarm bells. This diagram illustrates the biological response. On the left, we see baseline regulation. On the right, an everyday disruption has pushed the nervous system into erratic, spiking frequencies. The child is now locked in a survival state, regardless of the scale of the original event. When we measure trauma by the severity of the event rather than the child's internal response, we create a blind spot that leaves thousands of students without the help they need. This internal distress eventually surfaces as visible behavior. It manifests as sudden sleep issues, unexplained aggression toward peers, a refusal to attend school, or a sudden slide back into younger behaviors. Because these symptoms look like traditional acting out, the school system often processes them as disciplinary problems. We treat physiological distress as willful disobedience. This is why the vast majority of traumatized students move through their education completely unidentified. They aren't seen as children in pain. Instead, they are seen as children who won't follow the rules. The tragedy lies in the cycle that follows: adults continuously punishing a child for the neurological pain they failed to detect. Pediatric medicine actively classifies these events as adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. These cumulative neurological burdens physically shape exactly how the human brain develops, far outlasting the initial emotional memory. Measurably, as the ACE score on the x-axis rises, behavioral referrals spike and grades drop on the y-axis. This damage persists. Prolonged stress shifts long-term health metrics, with cardiovascular and immune risks compounding with every additional adverse experience. In this light, chronic academic underperformance and classroom disruptions aren't character flaws. They are medical symptoms of a nervous system that hasn't been allowed to reset. Most schools simply lack the resources to address this. Counselors and social workers are struggling under the heavy weight of standard administrative duties, leaving them with little bandwidth to investigate hidden trauma. When a major incident occurs, the response is almost always reactive. The focus remains on immediate safety, while the quiet, lingering damage to the student body's nervous systems goes completely unaddressed. Even when an educator suspects a student is in trouble, the gap between RAD observation and securing specialized clinical care is often too wide to bridge. Without a standardized way to make invisible trauma visible, schools stay caught in a continuous cycle of reactive discipline that simply never reaches the root of the problem. To break that cycle, we have to move from subjective observation to objective medical screening. The solution starts with the PCL5-based screener. It's a tool designed for the constraints of a school's A. It is completely free, takes exactly 3 minutes to complete, and generates an immediate severity score. This data transforms a vague concern into a concrete plan. The severity score leads directly to color-coded referral pathways, providing parents and pediatricians with a clear map for next steps. This 3-minute process changes the narrative. It converts a problem student into a medical case that can actually be treated. MentalSpace School provides the infrastructure to handle these referrals. It's a dedicated K-12 telehealth network designed to bridge the gap between screening and treatment. Schools are matched with specialized, culturally competent therapist teams. These clinicians can provide same-day teletherapy and trauma-specific treatments like EMDR right where the students are. Cost is no longer the gatekeeper. Through an inclusive insurance model, Medicaid coverage results in a $0 out-of-pocket cost for families. For Georgia school administrators, this also addresses a looming regulatory requirement. Implementing this support system directly helps schools meet the HB 268 compliance mandates by the July 2026 deadline. The results of this model are quantified here: an 89% improvement in student attendance and a 92% reduction in reported anxiety. These outcomes are backed by an 85% family satisfaction rate. Resolving invisible trauma changes a child's life trajectory. It allows us to move beyond punishment and convert our schools into environments of measurable healing.